Race discrimination, police brutality, protests. Question, are we talking 50 years ago here or like last week? Selma is a dramatic recreation and telling of the civil rights protests and marches that took place in Selma, Alabama at the height of the fight against segregation and discrimination in the South. The story centers around Martin Luther King Jr.'s involvement and leadership in the fight, especially for voting equality in the mid-60s. The film not only touches on race issues, but explores the inside structure, struggle, and politics of the civil rights movement, as well as the heart and mind of MLK Jr. and those closest to him during that time. It's an extremely compelling story and journey made all the more relevant by recent national headlines. It just feels like an important movie released at exactly the right time and thankfully done well enough to have a genuine impact. In fact, it's done really well. Selma succeeds in exactly the ways you would expect an awards contender like this to succeed. Beautifully shot and scored, wonderfully written in a way that is both educational and entertaining, and full of the kind of magnificent performances that capture you with intensity and grandeur. King especially feels like the real deal here, enough so that I kind of wondered if maybe a couple of surfers from San Dimas had kidnapped the real MLK, brought him to the set in an old phone booth. Seriously though, it's truly impressive stuff. I think the movie also benefits from focusing on such a small slice of MLK's life, zeroing in on the events surrounding the Selma marches. So many times I feel like biopics try to squeeze these life stories into a couple of hours, and it doesn't give the important moments enough space to really breathe. But I wonder if there's something to be said about telling these life stories in pieces. I mean, you'd think with as crazy hungry as Hollywood is for franchises these days, that the historical franchise would be the next logical step. Why tell the story of James Brown in one movie when you can find 5 different key points and release them as sequels? I mean, if that tiny little Hobbit book can be 3 movies, certainly The Life of Lincoln could be 2. My point is, Selma benefits from the extra room to really live in this smaller moment in time. Speaking of moments in time, I also don't underestimate how the power of this movie is exponentially increased by what we've been through recently with Mike Brown and other headlines. The movie hits home deeply as we ponder how things have changed and how they haven't. What's astounding is that even as topical as it is, it never feels preachy, never feels off balance or political in a detrimental way. Front to back, it plays its cards with grace, humility, and confidence, just the way MLK managed to carry himself as well. So what about negatives? Well, there really isn't much. I mean, if I had to nitpick, I'd say maybe the film pacing in the first half hour is a bit slow, kind of as it gets going, but it's barely noticeable and probably something that an overthinking film reviewer with maybe a best thing, worst thing gimmick would even bring up. Overall, Selma is the most relevant movie I've seen in a long time. Well made, brilliantly acted, with a message that is poignant without being preachy. It reminds us who we've been, who we are, and most importantly, who we want to be. And I believe marches resolutely to a powerful and well-deserved A. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. Stay tuned for this review's best ever challenge here in a bit. First, I want to throw some stuff up over here that you can click on. If you'd like to subscribe, which would be awesome, you can do that by clicking the big gray subscribe button. Want to see more? Well, Inherent Vice and Woman in Black 2 are also out this week, so you can click to see my reviews of those. You can also click the logo right up here if you want to go to yourmoviefriend.com, where you can find a searchable database of reviews that I've done, as well as the written text of these videos. And finally, this review's best ever challenge, where you name the best movie ever in a particular category, and then also try to identify my choice. What is the best movie whose title is also a city ever? I'm going with the one that was recently adapted into a TV show, don't you know? Drop your own answer and a guess at mine in the comments, and the first person to guess mine does get that point. Thanks, and please subscribe.